So for number 3, we have a word problem, and let's go and read this out loud. It says, Diane spent $200 on shirts, and then also fancy shirts cost $13 while plain shirts cost $15. If she bought a total of 14 shirts, then how many fancy shirts did she buy? So as we can see in this problem, there's two unknowns that we are trying to figure out, and then one of them is being asked as the actual question. The first unknown that's not given is how many fancy shirts we have, so we give that a variable f. We also don't know how many plain shirts we have, so I give that another variable p. And what we're going to try to do to solve for these variables is create a system. So let's go and create a system first. What we're going to do is try two separate equations. One is the how many equation. So we don't know how many fancy shirts or how many plain shirts we have, but we know a total of 14 shirts is what we have. So I don't know how many fancy or how many plain, but if I add them together, I know that's equal to 14. So that's how many shirts we have total. We also know how much the total was for the cost of them, but we don't know how much and we also know how much each shirt type costs. So if I wanted to find how much the total cost is, it would be $13 times however many fancy shirts I bought, plus $15 times however many plain shirts we bought, and that's a total of $200 spent. So now we have our system with our two equations. To solve this, I'm going to use the elimination method, but you can also use the substitution method. But for the elimination method, if you recall, the method, what our first step we have to do is to multiply to get an opposite. Right, so we'll choose a variable to get opposites for, and we'll multiply so that we get that. And then second, we'll add them together so that our opposite variables cancel out. So because the number 13 is smaller, I'm going to choose to use that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply this top equation by 13, negative 13. So our first step is to multiply to get opposite, so I'm going to multiply it by negative 13. And what do I get? Well, I'll rewrite it down under here. I have minus 13f, minus 13p. And if I multiply across the other side too, minus 13 times 14 is minus 182. And on the bottom, I'll just rewrite this one, 13f plus 15p is equal to 200. So our first step is done. Now, if you look at our f variables, the coefficients are now opposite. So if I do the second step, which is to add straight down and cancel it out, we see negative 13 and 13, well, those disappear because it's equal to 0. Now, negative 13 plus 15 is just 2, so I have 2p right here. And 200 minus 182, well, that's going to be 18. So now since now our f is gone, now we can solve for p. So p is equal to 9. However, what's the question asking for? It's asking for how many fancy shirts we have. What we just found here was how many plain shirts we have. So in order to find the fancy, well, now we can just substitute that information into one of our equations, and we'll find the other one. So I know f plus p is 14. But since we're looking when p is 9, we'll put in a 9 there. Substitute that in. And now if I just subtract 9 on both sides, we can get our number of fancy shirts, which is 5. And that's our answer. So the answer is C.